Hello, welcome to a special edition of the All American Spook Show podcast. I'm Josh, and I'm joined here with Donnie
Yo.
and Tiana.
Hey.
And today we've got a special guest. We're doing a little bit about something that may interest the audience here today. And we have on as a guest Dr. Chris McAuley.
Hello, everybody.
Nice to have you on. Exactly what are we here to talk about today?
Let's talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula, shall we? Everybody likes Dracula. I see Tiana in the background has a Dracula. He's got a Dracula doll there. So, so I'm probably most known for being the co-creator and author of something called the Stokerverse franchise, which is co-created by along with Bram Stoker's great grandnephew Decker Stoker, and we are piecing together the original literary Dracula and taking it to various mediums. Now, when I say that, the actual literary Dracula is one that many people have never seen before. So whenever I say Dracula, it conjures up various images in your mind, right? You're maybe thinking of the Francis Ford Coppola film with Gary Oldman, or Christopher Lee, or one of the myriad of actors that have played Dracula over the years. But it might surprise you to know that Dracula in the book has hairy hands. He's an older man with a iron moustache, an iron-coloured moustache, with a high sloping forehead and a general evil-looking face. Nothing quite like you see in Hollywood, really. So that's one of the differentiations between the literary Dracula and the cinematic Dracula. The other is that there are 120 pages missing from the Dracula book that you can go and buy or lift off yourself, perhaps. There's 120 pages of those missing. They were removed by Bram Stoker's editor, a chap called Otto Kleiman, from a company called Archibald and Constable. And we have those pages, and we are inserting them back into Dracula in a variety of media. So comic books, novels, audios, tabletop games, video games, and perhaps televisual media in the future.
Awesome. Will there ever be like say an abridged or like re-release of the book with those pages inserted back?
Yes, there will be.
But
That's cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Hollywood film with Gary Oldman. It just so happens to be, and we run into this all the time, where we just kind of stumble upon these these anniversaries. At the time that we're recording this, November 13th, it was 22 years ago was the anniversary of the release of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, I have to be very careful because Decker won't allow me to say it's Bram Stoker's Dracula because it's not. I think I call it Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, and it's great. It's a great film. I really enjoy the film, but it's quite dissimilar from the book. Okay, and Dracula doesn't come to England for a booty call, right? He's not interested in the book. He's not interested in romancing Mina or even Lucy. There are other reasons why he's coming to England. England's the heart of the Victorian Empire. He wants to take over the Victorian Empire. That's why he's there. So there's just different thematic contexts. The pages that are missing actually bring into Dracula into the political sphere in England. He's not alone in the castle in the missing pages. He has a mute butler and a mute maidservant. There are satanic rituals in the castle where he sacrifices young virgin women, so Hammer Horror gets that right. But there are half-human, half-ape creatures that worship Dracula in the castle as well. So little differences like that were in the original book that were removed. The other interesting thing is that Bram Stoker said that Dracula was a true story, and he stood by that. So in the original preface of Dracula that was removed, Bram Stoker says that he knew everybody in the book, and they were all real people, but they were distinguished individuals in Victorian society. So their names had to be altered. But there is a Dracula. He is real. We revealed who he was in Dracula The Return issue 2. He was somebody that Bram Stoker knew very well. And yeah, it is actually a true story.
Now, I would assume that I mean, one of the biggest reasons that you're here. By the way, we just had artist Clint Langley
Hey, Clint.
just slide in
Hi there,
for
guys.
us today.
How you doing?
There he is. How you doing, man?
Good, good. Thanks for inviting us on.
So the main reason you're here today is because there's a Kickstarter campaign going on for a book you guys worked on called Shadows of the Stokerverse. You want to tell us a little bit about what this is about?
Well, I worked on a book with Chris. I think it was a couple of years ago now. It was a Stokerverse role playing game for a company called Nightfall Games, who sort of tend to do a lot of horror work. And it was a really great experience. And it was a very different kind of artwork I managed to create for that book. So I knew that Chris was also working with Shane at Scratch Comics, and I think he was also working on another text novel book at the time, and it just sort of came together as a good chance to sort of carry on doing this sort of Stokerverse horror artwork, which is really sort of right up my street. It's kind of part of what I do. I'm sort of fantasy, science fiction, or horror mainly. So yeah, no, it's coming together.
Well, I've always said that you're the perfect artist for this, Clint. You know, I've admired your work since I was a kid, right? And I'm not trying to age you in that, right? But for a very, very long time. And you know, you're
Yeah, no, I'm getting on.
yeah, and it's one of those things where there's a wonderful synergy between the writing and the art, you know, and
Yeah,
your art
yeah.
is absolutely stunning in this. It's
Oh, fabulous. That's great to hear. I mean, I love your writing, and I was looking at the pages as they're sort of coming in with Andy's graphics, and I think they look fabulous. It's the kind of look we had in the role playing book, where the artwork and the story and the actual graphics all come together to make one thing. You know, that's my favourite way of producing books. So it's when you open up a splash page, you just see it as a work of art, including everything. And especially the titles he's done, which have that kind of sort of Italian Western, over the top sort of 1960s, 70s Sergio Leone kind of title credits. And I didn't even have to ask for those. He knocks it out of the park straight away. So it's very exciting.
Now, this Shadows of the Stokerverse book that's coming together, what exactly is it going to be about? Is it a series of short stories? Is it one big story that's just illustrated? I mean, what exactly would people expect?
It's a series of short stories that are all set in this. I call it a gothic Hellraiser fantasy uh, universe, right? So it's obviously set in Bram Stoker's Victorian London, but we have all sorts of characters, not just Dracula. We have all sorts of demonic entities and um, creatures like Frankenstein's monster and Jekyll and Hyde and a whole series of creatures actually Clint came up with. What's interesting about this book is that Clint is illustrating and then I'm writing based on his illustrations. It's very interesting. It's a wonderful way to do it because my work is quite as a writer. It's visual storytelling in text, but and Clint's obviously a visual storyteller in art. So it's an interesting way of doing it. I'm not imagining the characters. The characters are there. I'm actually imagining the situations that the characters will be put in.
That's an interesting way to go about it, for sure.
And it's great. It's great. Sort of sometimes I'd send over a piece to Chris, and then maybe sort of not so long later, I start to get the ideas start coming through, and then before you know it, the story's done. But it's also got a variety of styles, which is quite nice as well, and I think that sort of reflects in Chris's writing as well.
So when exactly? I mean, I know you got the Kickstarter campaign going on now, and I think that ends on Tuesday, November 19th at 8 a.m. But when can people expect this to see this book out on shelves?
Well, it's going to retail, I think, next year, early next year. But the important thing to know is that this Kickstarter is the only way of getting the extras, like the hardcover with Clint's beautiful artwork on it, with the postcards, all the extras that we're offering on Kickstarter. And this is like for the horror fan, this artwork, you need it. I think you guys have seen some of the pieces that Clint has done. The art is driving the product, and it's incredibly powerful. And Decker Stoker and I absolutely adore Clint's work. And well, yeah, I'll tell you a story. I got him to get your Art of Warhammer book, and Decker doesn't know anything about Warhammer, but he looked through it and went, "Wow." Because your work is so detailed, it's so evocative, it's very, very powerful. So, I think if you're a Dracula fan or a horror fan, if you like Gothic, I have to preface this by saying extremely violent Gothic horror stories, you will enjoy this. This is not, how would you term this? It's not safe for work. Isn't that the parlance that people use now? Yeah. Not safe for work. It is extremely violent. I can't write any other way, and I don't think, Clint, you can paint or illustrate any other way either.
Kind of looking at the artwork, I am not an avid book reader. I'm not an avid reader at all. But just the visuals, the artwork is exceptional. Like, I love concept art, and this is right up my alley. So even though I'm not an avid reader, I would still find value in this.
Oh, thank you. I mean, if you've seen some of my other work with Warhammer or my comic work, I mean, they're extremely detailed pieces. But with the Stokerverse piece, it's got a lot of emotion thrown in there, and I think that just allows it to. I mean, I grew up sort of with all the Hammer horrors and that kind of thing, and I used to love all the vivid colours that you would find in those movies. And I suppose it's just bringing a little bit of that there as well, a bit of inspiration from all that kind of stuff. But I think people are really going to enjoy this book.
Yeah, I mean, from the little snips that we have of it, where we can see the artwork and some of the preview stuff. Yeah, this looks great. Looks like it's going to be awesome, and I think all of our watchers and listeners are really looking forward to this one. So we encourage you to go back this on their Kickstarter campaign. We'll have links to that down below, or wherever you can, and I'm sure you can hunt that down by looking for Shadows of the Stokerverse on Kickstarter. So, Dr. McAuley, Clint, we appreciate you for coming on, talking to us about this today. And is there anything else you guys wanted to add before we tap out?
Well, I've just been watching your podcasts, actually, funny enough, and I found my new favourite podcast. Yeah. So good luck with it, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great to sort of it's great to just listen to people talk about horror movies, because I grew up watching horrors far too young in the 70s, then went through the 80s with all the sort of video nasties, and it's just so nice to see people dissect these wonderful films, even though not all of them were wonderful. I mean, There was many disappointed times I came back from the video store and thought, I can't believe I've wasted my evening watching that crap.
Yeah.
But so good luck to you.
That's funny you just mentioned that, because another series that we do on our YouTube channel is Hammer Horror in Order, where we're going through the Hammer Films library, like, of their horror movies and their thrillers in the order they were released. So
I did watch a couple of those as well. Yeah, they're fabulous.
We've worked our way up to 1963, I believe, Donnie, right? So
yeah,
we still got a long way to go, but yeah,
okay,
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having us on. This is great, and I'm going to be checking out your podcast whenever I'm in the bath tomorrow morning, getting ready for work.
There you go. We appreciate.
There's an image, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for leaving us with that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All
the best.